Gibson got traded over the weekend, and there are a lot of Oilers fans banging the table saying, why didn't the Oilers pay that price for Gibson? Cap hit north of $6 million. I get that Anaheim took back the Mrazek deal, so made it a bit easier to stomach for Detroit, but it's a second in 2027 and a fourth in 2026. Let's put the analyst cap on heart. We asked our chat. They're voting right now in the poll. Should the Oilers have paid this price for John Gibson?
Well, I would say the answer is like option C. They couldn't pay that price because they didn't have a contract like Mrazek to send back, right? Like the real benefit of sending a Mrazek back at 4.25 is that instead of having to retain Gibson for 2 years, it's almost the same as like retaining him on only 1 year, right? Which you're not allowed to do. So to me, that's why, like, let's say the offers were the same, but Edmonton needed Anaheim to retain like well, they couldn't retain as much as $4 million, but let's just say even half. Like, I could see why they would prefer this Detroit deal because they don't have to, they have the whole cap hit saved in that second year. So should they have gone for Gibson? I think if it was 50% retained and it was a second and a fourth or second and a third, I think that's definitely something they should have done. I mean, that would have upgraded them. But I think it's really hard to evaluate from an Oilers perspective because they just didn't have a way to accomplish the same thing to meet Anaheim's needs.
Should the Oilers have paid the second, fourth for John Gibson? Let's even say Arvidsson was the contract going back the other way. Would you have done Arvidsson a second and a fourth for Gibson? 75% of the chat says no.
Well, I think one thing's important to note is after this trade was made, it was a few reporters that said that they actually didn't want to retain at all. So yeah. I think that's an important context in this. Arvidsson's second and a fourth. I mean, I think Arvidsson holds more value than Mrazek. Something similar, I probably would have. Yeah. He's a good goalie, and I'm a bit on the edge, but I'm leaning more. Yes, I would have. He's obviously an upgrade on one of your two goalies. Has the potential to be the best goalie on your team.
I just wouldn't have sacrificed Skinner in that deal.
No. I wouldn't have either.
And I think they had questions maybe about. I think they maybe had questions about Gibson being open to playing in a tandem with Skinner because that was talked about.
Yeah, I do too. But I think yes, if you just want to ask me the deal, if it was something based around Arvidsson, a couple picks here and there, whatever else you can figure out, I'd probably lean yes. Because then you're only adding $2.5 million to your cap. It's kind of whatever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you have done it? Bit of both.
The deal to me is fine. Like, that's a fine return.
Yeah.
I just don't think John Gibson's the answer. So no, I wouldn't have done it.
I don't think he's not the answer. And I know I've been very anti-Gibson, so maybe this is out of character. I just again, I'm looking at everything and just like,
that's not a crazy price to pay if you think you've solved your goaltending, but they must have not think that it would solve their goaltending.
I think what Hart said, option C, they couldn't afford him.
Yeah, that too. Like, I think cap-wise, it just made it really tough. Or they could afford something that size, salary cap-wise, and they don't want to spend on a goalie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see tomorrow. They're linked with like 2 players.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.